Hello and welcome to Bite Size History, History of the United Kingdom, brought to you by AI Cast. I'm your host Aidan. We are now deep into the fascinating world of Iron Age Britain, and in this episode, we'll be exploring settlement patterns during the Middle Iron Age. In our previous episodes, we covered the origins of the Iron Age, the emergence of ironworking, the development of early Iron Age society and economy, early Iron Age art and craftsmanship, and religion and beliefs in early Iron Age Britain. Now, we turn our attention to the way people lived during this time, looking specifically at their settlements and how they changed and evolved. To do this, we'll examine different types of settlements, including farmsteads, hill forts, and undefended settlements, as well as the factors that influence their development. We'll also discuss the geographical distribution of these settlements and the regional variations that characterized the Middle Iron Age. During the Middle Iron Age, which spanned roughly from 400 BCE to 100 BCE, settlements in Britain became more complex and varied, reflecting the growing population, advances in agriculture, and changes in the social and political landscape. Settlement types in the Middle Iron Age can generally be divided into three main categories: farmsteads, hill forts, and undefended settlements. Farmsteads were the most common type of settlement during the Middle Iron Age and were typically small, family-based communities focused on agriculture. They were usually made up of a main roundhouse, which served as the living quarters for the family, along with a number of outbuildings and enclosures for animals and crops. Farmsteads were often enclosed by ditches and banks, both to protect against flooding and to demarcate land boundaries. Farmsteads were typically self-sufficient, producing the majority of the food and resources needed by the family, including cereals, livestock, and craft materials such as pottery and textiles. They were also connected to broader networks of exchange, both within their local communities and beyond, trading surplus goods and raw materials for items that were difficult to produce locally. Hill forts, as we discussed in a previous episode, were large, fortified settlements typically located on hilltops or other prominent landscape features. They were used primarily for defense and control, but also served as important centers of power, production, and exchange during the Middle Iron Age. Hill forts could range in size from small, single-entrance enclosures to vast, multi-acre complexes with multiple entrances and elaborate defenses, such as the famous Maiden Castle in Dorset. Hill forts were not only home to the local elites but also housed a variety of craftsmen, traders, and agricultural workers. They played a crucial role in the organization of Middle Iron Age society, serving as focal points for the coordination of labor, the distribution of resources, and the exercise of political authority. In addition to farmsteads and hill forts, the Middle Iron Age saw the development of undefended settlements, which were larger, open communities that did not rely on fortifications for protection. These settlements were often located in close proximity to important natural resources, such as fertile land, water sources, or mineral deposits, and could accommodate a range of activities, from farming and craft production to trade and ritual. Undefended settlements were typically characterized by a high degree of spatial organization, with distinct areas for domestic, agricultural, and industrial activities. They often contained a number of roundhouses and other structures, such as granaries, workshops, and storage pits, as well as communal spaces for gatherings and rituals. Several factors influenced the development of settlements during the Middle Iron Age, including changes in the social and political landscape, advances in agricultural technology, and the availability of natural resources. One of the key factors driving the evolution of Middle Iron Age settlements was the growing complexity of social and political relationships. As populations expanded and local elites gained power, there was an increasing need for settlements to serve as centers of authority, production, and exchange. This is particularly evident in the development of hill forts, which often functioned as regional capitals and were associated with powerful chieftains or warrior elites. Another important factor was the ongoing development of agricultural technologies, which allowed for more intensive farming and larger-scale production. The introduction of the iron plough, for example, greatly improved the efficiency of ploughing and enabled farmers to cultivate heavier, more fertile soils. This led to an increase in agricultural productivity, which in turn supported larger, more stable communities and the development of more complex settlement patterns. Finally, the availability of natural resources played a crucial role in the development of Middle Iron Age settlements. Proximity to fertile land, water sources, and mineral deposits often dictated the location of settlements, as these resources were essential for supporting the various activities that took place within the community, from farming and craft production to trade and ritual. The distribution of settlements during the Middle Iron Age varied across the different regions of Britain, with certain areas exhibiting distinct settlement patterns and characteristics. In southern and eastern England, for example, the landscape was dominated by a combination of hill forts, farmsteads, and undefended settlements, often located in close proximity to one another. This pattern suggests a high degree of interaction and interdependence between different types of settlements, with hill forts functioning as central nodes in a broader network of communities. In contrast, the western and northern regions of Britain exhibited a more dispersed settlement pattern, with farmsteads and hill forts typically located farther apart and occupying more isolated, defensible locations. This may reflect the influence of different environmental factors, such as the more rugged, hilly terrain found in these regions, as well as differences in social and political organization. One notable feature of Middle Iron Age settlement patterns in Britain is the relatively limited evidence for urbanization or the development of large, centrally organized communities. This stands in contrast to the Late Iron Age, when the rise of the oppida, or fortified urban centers, marked a significant shift in the organization of Iron Age society. This suggests that the Middle Iron Age was a period of transition, with settlements gradually evolving and growing in size and complexity, laying the groundwork for the more urbanized, hierarchical societies that would emerge in the centuries to come. In conclusion, the Middle Iron Age was a period of dynamic change and innovation in the settlement patterns of Britain. The development of farmsteads, hill forts, and undefended settlements, as well as the increasing complexity of social and political relationships, agricultural technologies, and resource distribution, all contributed to the creation of a diverse and interconnected landscape of communities. As we continue our journey through the history of Iron Age Britain, we will explore further aspects of Middle Iron Age society, including technological advances, social organization, trade and exchange, and art and symbolism. By examining these various dimensions of Iron Age life, we hope to gain a more complete understanding of the people who inhabited this fascinating and complex world. We hope you enjoyed learning about the different types of settlements and the factors that influenced their development. Thank you for listening. If you liked the show, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time on Bite Size History.